Testing. made a lot of new friends.
The exchange was amazing because I found a lot of new friends.
I think the German exchange is important because
Should I put it on?
Going to do it. Good evening, everyone. Sorry to interrupt the conversation. Welcome to tonight's Mansfield Board of Education, April 20, 2023 meeting of our board. It's a regular meeting, and I would just like to say, yes, that is the same Mansfield Board of Education that in partnership with the town of Mansfield and Mansfield Public Schools just opened the first net zero public school in the state of Connecticut. All right, the excitement's over now. With that, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:32. Thank you, Jill. Would you call the roll, Jill, please?
I sure will. Thank you. Susanna Everett,
I am here.
Martha Kelly,
Here.
Edith Allison,
Here.
David Latrico is joining us virtually. Thank you. Catherine is also joining us virtually and has identified that she is here. Jeanette Picard.
Here.
And Kelly Zimmerman.
Here.
Great, thank you, Jill. Edith, would you mind reading our mission statement?
I think I would have
Yeah,
memorized it by
memorized by
now,
now.
but no. It's the mission of the Mansfield Public Schools in partnership with the Mansfield community to ensure that each and every child develops the knowledge, skills, and dispositions essential for civic engagement and personal excellence in learning, life, and work within our local and global community.
Thank you very much, Edith. Next, the approval of the minutes of March 9, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Kelly. Second? Thank you, Jeanette. Are there any corrections? Any objections to approving these minutes? Any abstentions? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Next, the communications, Jill? Please.
The board received numerous communications from families regarding the German exchange program. About half of them were included in your packet. The other half are at your places this evening because they came in after the packet was distributed.
Great, thank you very much.
Excuse me, where are they? Oh, at your places. I thought you said at two places. I'm sorry. Okay.
There are some that came in later before the packet. Great. That brings us to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to approach the board? Please come up. Shoot for it. Hello. Ravi, can I interrupt you? Do you mind saying your address,
Sure.
please, just for the record?
928 Woodmont Drive,
Great,
Mansfield
thank you.
Center 0650. And I'm going to just read the letter that I submitted to the packet during my time. Dear members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to share with you just a few of the many ways in which the German exchange program has benefited my children and our family as a whole. We were first introduced to the German exchange when my oldest child volunteered to be a school host for students who visited us last May 2022. My oldest son, Idan, now in 8th grade, did not have an interest in traveling abroad and living with a family in Germany, but still wanted to have the unique opportunity to share experiences and bond with a student his age from another country. Over the course of many amazing weeks of preparation in 21-22, through after-school meetings that built bonds among students who would not have otherwise necessarily connected, and then 3 amazing weeks last spring in 2022, Idan learned critical social emotional skills, including how to make a peer his age feel welcome, comfortable, and supported in a foreign country, while fostering a friendship despite language and cultural differences. His experience only increased my younger son, Gilad's, interest in applying for the program last fall, spending months meaningfully preparing for his trip with his classmates and teachers each Wednesday after school, and ultimately spending a life-changing 3 weeks exploring a foreign country while learning so much about himself. I could spend many pages delineating all the unique ways in which this incredible opportunity enriched Gilad's worldview, but I will highlight 3 in this letter. 1, how a view of history via a social studies unit on World War II could never be compared to the experience of visiting a concentration camp. 2, how the opportunity to practice independence changed how we will parent our child moving forward. And 3, how Board of Eds and districts reacted to hearing that this incredible experience exists in Mansfield. First, both my grandparents and my husband's grandparents are Holocaust survivors. We both grew up listening to many stories of the horrors experienced by our ancestors during World War II. Living in Mansfield, where there are many different cultures and religions, but nonetheless very few Jewish families, it was extremely meaningful that during the trip, Gilad and his classmates visited a concentration camp, and his peers, who may not have previously had exposure to the atrocities of the Holocaust, could learn about our history, how our history shapes us as a human race in ways outside of how this is acquired via text at school. It was extremely meaningful to Gilad to visit the concentration camp and for him and his peers to learn about history, and specifically our family's history, beyond the textbook. Number 2, as a family living in a rural community where children need to be driven everywhere, it can be easy to forget about the importance of fostering independence, even if as parents, it can feel scary to let our children explore on their own. This experience taught Gilad and his classmates that they do have the skills and independence to navigate the cities and towns on their own and the confidence and fluency to do so. It's also led us as parents to consider more ways we can support that independence, given that the German exchange program showed us how independent and responsible 12 and 13-year-olds can be on the other side of the world. Third, in my professional role as an educational consultant who travels to districts across the state of Connecticut, during the 3 weeks Gilad was abroad, I often mentioned to colleagues that my son was in Germany. From a parent's perspective, having their child on the other side of the world is always front of mind. So it came up often in the time he was away. Over and over, district leaders and educators from middle schools I visited across the state responded in awe. They repeatedly made statements including, wow, what town do you live in? What an amazing opportunity. Or I wish our district did something like that for our middle schoolers. From superintendents to various boards of education across Connecticut, the wonder and frankly envy that Mansfield offers this incredible opportunities to students was abundantly clear. I felt so proud to share that I live in a town where the district supports and empowers our 21st century learners to not only gain classroom-based skills and how to become global citizens, but actually practice these skills while wandering around the far corners of our precious earth. This trip taught my son early and often that it really is a small world after all, and that we must collaborate, learn from each other, and connect with our neighbors in nations all over the world, while also understanding and learning from our history, so that future generations, our children, will do better and be better than those before them. Thank you for the opportunity to write this letter in support of the German exchange. I hope this program continues to have the support of our school and the Board of Ed for many years to come, and I look forward to watching students practice independence and global citizenships in the near and distant future. Please don't hesitate to reach out if I can answer any additional questions regarding either of my son's experiences or that of mine as their grateful parent. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. Is there anyone else who would like to approach the board? Sure, come on up. Hello.
Quiet, so I'll bring it close. Amy Lapsis, 107 Candide Lane. I did submit a letter, but it was late, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of highlights so that you can read it at your convenience. Both of my children attended or were part of the German exchange program. So Kylie was in 2018. I never would have thought in a million years that my son would have also been able to be a part of this amazing opportunity for many reasons, but the support that he received at Mansfield Middle School allowed him that opportunity. And I can't tell you enough how much it affects not just the kids, but also the teachers. So when you're looking at the program in terms of how it's affecting these students, it really is affecting the teachers as well. Not just the advisors, but having other students from other countries in your classroom for 3 weeks is a different opportunity that Mansfield Middle School is providing to our community and our community at large. So when you're talking about your core beliefs and producing global citizens, you truly are doing that with the German exchange program. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Amy. Anyone else who would come on up? Hello.
In 304 Gurleyville Road.
Excuse me, Margaret, could you speak right? Move that microphone a little closer to you if you would. Good. You can move all that stuff. Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maggie and I'm an 8th grader at MMS. I've been engaged in the German exchange program since 2021 of my 7th grade year. That sadly means that with the conclusion of our recent international adventure, my time in the program has come to an end. However, it also means that I've been able to experience all sides of the program and am able to confidently say that this exchange has been one of, if not the best experiences of my life. An exchange differs from any other vacation. It allowed me to experience Germany through the lens of how daily life is lived, rather than it just being another tourist attraction. Living with your host family, going to school and experiencing classes, gaining international friend groups, or being indulged in the culture are all examples of what we were able to experience because of this program. Many people have asked me what my favorite part was, and it's hard to choose, but my answer has stayed consistent for everyone that has asked. My favorite part of the trip was simply being in school. I know that some may find that answer weird, but school was where I felt most surrounded and engaged in German life. I was able to pick up on sayings, discover differences, and also similarities. For example, in math class, they were doing algebra, which happens to be the class I was in last year. And while I wasn't able to understand a great deal of what the teacher was saying, I was able to understand what they were learning. School is also one of the things that not many foreigners are able to experience. One of the things that even if we go back to visit, we won't be able to experience again. Now that I've gone into thorough detail about school, I want to talk a little or maybe a lot about my exchange partner, or my exchange sister, as I like to call her. Jolena and I were strangers for the first 12 years of our lives. We didn't know that the other existed. But then one day we were both selected to be in the Germany-US exchange, and we were paired up. I was handed what me and my peers like to refer to as a stalker packet. Now, we don't call them that to be creepy, but the packets included almost everything about our partners, from the names of everyone in their family, to their grade in English class, to their date of birth. But I was lucky we were given them because it also included Jolena's email. As expected, our first few conversations were pretty awkward. What's your favorite animal? Do you have any siblings? How many pets do you have? Just the general stuff. But then we started texting and it was an instant connection. From that day forward, we texted each other nearly every day. Flash forward to this year, and our relationship has continued to strengthen. When either of us have a problem, the first we call is the other. Her family became my second family, her home, my second home. Jolena was the one that I had the strongest connection with for obvious reasons, but I was also able to form friendships and connections with her friends and my school host, Aya. Seeing as I spent most of my time talking about what I liked and my favorite parts, I think it would probably be good to get into the more educational side of things. There were simple things like picking up on words and phrases, learning more of the metric system, or learning about the common fashion. We were also taught more complex and historical information, such as the Hamburg Harbor Warehouse, history about some of the older cities, and information on the World Wars and the Holocaust. However, for me, I believe the visit to Bergen-Belsen was the most impactful and knowledge-inducing. Sure, we learn about the Holocaust and the millions of people killed by the Nazis in our classes, but there's something about being in a place where it all happened, seeing the pictures of the ground you had just been walking upon, that makes it all different. There's so much more you can learn. There's only so much you can learn from a textbook. Actually being able to see it all, listen to survivors' stories from the camp you're standing in, or looking at artifacts from the horrific events. All of the not so little things that are what add to the experience. You get a feeling of weariness and sorrow that fills you, one that you aren't able to feel from flipping pages. To sum it all up, the program has given me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, one that's filled with nothing but amazing memories, and one that has formed the best 3 weeks of my life. I've learned far more than what a book is able to teach. I've taken in the beauty of a second country, and I've been connected with my missing piece. I think that it really says something when almost every one of us was more homesick for Germany than we were for the US. 6 weeks of my life have been spent with one of my favorite people in the world. And even though those 3 weeks are up, the friendships, connections, and memories will stay with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Very well said. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the board? Hello.
Brian Connolly, 87 Bassett's Bridge Road. And my wife Diane Dorfer, also of 87 Bassett's Bridge Road, actually composed the letter. But, dear Mansfield Board of Education, I am writing in support of Mansfield Middle School's German exchange program. Our son and daughter were lucky enough to be part of the German exchange program, and it has had a deep and lasting effect on them and all of us as a family. Our son, right behind me, is currently a junior at E.O. Smith and was the last cohort to go to Germany before COVID. I feel that the German exchange experience helped our son learn to be more resilient and to trust himself and know when to look to peers for support. I think the exchange also opened his worldview and helped him see himself as an international learner. As a junior, he is in the midst of the college search and is actively looking for programs with integrated study and internships abroad. He's also planning on minoring in French because he has had firsthand experience with the value of being multilingual. Our daughter was in the most recent German exchange cohort. Hosting and then living with her German family similarly helped her learn to trust herself more and to be more confident. She's also now more willing to put herself into uncomfortable situations, which is such a valuable thing as a student, and to try new things, even when she doesn't know where it will lead. I fully support the continuation of the German exchange program and would happily recommend it to recommend the experience to upcoming families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Brian. Is there anyone else who would like to approach the board? Please do. Come on up.
So I'm William Connolly. I live at the same place. And yeah, like he said, I was in German exchange my 7th grade year. I went over there, and my exchange counterpart, his name is Jacob, or Jakob. I usually call him Jacob. And I kept in touch with him for the last 4 or 5 years. When I told him that we were having this meeting, he took it upon himself. He wrote a letter, so I was going to read it out for you guys. He says, "There are many things I liked about the exchange. One of the things I liked most is that you meet new friends. It's hard to get to know people who live beyond the Atlantic Ocean, but the exchange makes it possible. Another aspect that may only concern the Germans is the speaking improvement you get when you talk English for 3 weeks straight. No teacher can teach you as much about talking and pronunciation than native speakers. I think the major part of the exchange is to get to know a different culture. You go to a different country, you basically become an American/German student for the 3 weeks. And this is something you can only get when you participate in an exchange. For example, during a regular vacation in Germany or USA, it's impossible to find out how the Germans or Americans really live. You may do some sightseeing, but you'll never feel like a German or American. Last but not least, the exchange is really cheap considering you're there for 3 weeks. He says, I hope this isn't too much. Those are just some aspects. I could write more if you want me to. I said, that will be plenty. And that was, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the things that I took away. When I was there, or even before I left, it really taught me so many things. The first time I went to the bank was to open an account was for the trip, so I could have a debit card to bring with me. That's the same card I still use, made my PIN number for the trip. And the first time I withdrew money from an ATM was in the airport, so I could get euros to spend in Germany. And I think that's a little example, but the sort of thing that it's easy to learn when you're out in the world on your own, doing things for the first time. It's a sort of education that a school will struggle to provide for you, but in this case, they did because they provided the exchange for us. And that's all. Yes,
Great.
thanks.
Thank you so much, William. And thank Jacob for us,
Okay,
please.
I will.
Is there anyone else who'd like to approach the board? Hello.
I'm Kristen Ricky. I'm at 819 Middle Turnpike. I'm not going to read my letter to you that I emailed you. I just want to highlight that I don't think anybody on this board is questioning whether this trip is valuable for kids. I think that's apparent to everybody. I heard the concerns of the board were about equitable access and how many people are getting these opportunities. And I would just urge you, when you're having conversations later about this, to think about that the answer to that isn't to take away this opportunity, but to to find ways to provide more opportunities so that this can be more equitable for students to have these kinds of experiences.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Anyone else like to approach the board? Hello.
My name is Chandra Craig, 47 Codfish Falls Road. I am a product of Mansfield Schools. I went to Vinton Southeast, Mansfield Middle School, and E.O. Smith. And I currently have 2 children in the school system now.
Excuse me, Chandra, I'm sorry to, could you speak into the
Yes.
microphone? Thank you.
I have 2 children currently in Mansfield school systems. I have a kindergartner, and my daughter Myra is an 8th grader, and she participated in this fantastic program. One of the things that I'd like to add to the board's consideration for this program is the larger effect on the community. We welcomed a child, Yetta, to our home, and she became a sister not only to Myra attending school, but to my son as well. And it was a cliche to say magical experience, having the opportunity to host someone really fosters that global sense of community here and over there. And I hope that when my son gets to middle school, that he has the same opportunity to welcome someone else into his home from a different country, as well as to go abroad if so lucky. And I think that while it is a opportunity that presents itself to a few, it impacts so many more people, the people who host, the people who are the school hosts, because it's not just the students who are hosting the children at home, but there are students at the schools that choose to bring the children along with them to their daily classes. So it really is a large community effort in this, and that we've had this opportunity for multiple decades now is phenomenal. And I really hope that the board continues to support this effort and sees expansion of it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chandra. Is there anyone else? In the back? Name and address, please.
I'm going to go first as Jennifer Zugarazzo, 36 Clearview Drive. And I'm going to talk a moment as a world language educator. And my family has never gotten the chance to experience this German exchange. However, it is something that this town should be so proud of, because this is definitely not something that everybody gets to do, that people even have in many, many, many towns. I hope that we can look to expanding and providing more experiences for children, because learning about cultures, the best way to do that is in the culture itself. So I am obviously a giant proponent of that. So that is me as Jen Zugarazzo. This is me as Jen Zugarazzo, the MEA co-president.
Rochelle Marcus, MEA co-president, also resident of 16 Homestead Drive.
So I just wanted to take a moment to thank the board for all your support with the opening of the fantastic new elementary school called Mansfield Elementary School. Oh my gosh, I'm a little exhausted. It's been a week, but it's been a fantastic week. And the teachers, the staff, everyone has worked so hard to make everything as best as possible for the kids. The kids are so happy. The energy in the building is so positive. Everybody is just excited. And we're figuring out how to use all the different parts of this building. And it's been a long road. It's been a long road, and to finally be at this sort of finish line, we just want to thank you for all the support. It was unprecedented what we received as teachers for compensation and release time. That being said, if you found a pot of money, I'm sure teachers would definitely be able to document their time. It's been a long road, and everybody put in, you know, everything because it's our kids. So thank you again.
And I'll just add my 2 cents. I haven't been part of the move except for the day that we were able to go as middle school teachers to support the move in all different ways. And that's very much in part of your support, giving us the days and the time, and our principals giving us the time to go over and help. Not only supporting us in setting up the new school and setting up the classrooms, but I heard from so many different staff members how nice it was that we were all pitching in, doing something together. And we've done that before, but it felt different. And I heard that from a lot of middle school staff and elementary staff. So I'm saying that publicly, so maybe we can do that more often or build that in somehow. But yes, thank you so much for your support. We've heard that most people's anxiety is starting to subside, and they're very excited. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Are there any additions to the present agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to information, presentation, and actions. We are scheduled for the. Sorry. Oh, I apologize. So glad you're coming up. Thank you.
My name is Ellie Suarez. I live at 99 Dog Lane. I was a part of the German exchange program. I loved it so much. It was such a good opportunity for me. It was like when you go into a foreign country, you're like, oh my God, this is insane. Like it's everything's new. You learn so much. Like Maggie said, it's going to school was a whole new learning opportunity. And it affected so many people, and not just the people who went. Like before we went to Germany, there were school hosts that took the Germans around the school in Mansfield, and they never got to see their the exchange students again. So they were affected when they left. So they never got to see them again. It's not just the people who were going who got to interact with these people, and it was everybody at the school got to. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise.
I'm Mackenzie Ricky at 819 Middle Turnpike. And I just want to add on, like, it didn't affect so many people. Like the German students came into all the social studies classes to talk about like their life. So like everyone got to learn about it. And like people who weren't even part of the exchange got, like, I have some friends who still talk to my German exchange partner, even though that they only got to know each other for 3 weeks. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you very much, ladies. Is there anyone else? No, I'm glad you did that. All right. As I said, we're going on to information, presentations, and actions. We're scheduled for the superintendent's report first, but I'm going to ask the board if it's okay that we move German exchange program up so our guests don't have to sit through our business. So I will turn it over to Superintendent Dart.
Well, let me just say that I am incredibly proud of our students and families who've come out and shared an amazing testimony to a program that's well established and very unique. It is an example of being global citizens and how Mansfield Public Schools dares to be different in such a great supportive way. I'm going to invite three guests up, Principal Larry Barlow and two of the middle school teachers who led the trip, Laura Hunter and Louis Goffney. And board members, you will recall in October when we last spoke about this trip, there were a couple things that we spoke about. One was the permission, and one was the actual trip itself. And so, given that students have just returned, I asked Laura and Louis to put together a presentation to give you some feedback on what the March 2023 experience was like. It was amazing just following the blogging and pictures that were shared all along. We'll pause after that to then go to the second part of it, and that is the continued support of this exchange program. So I'll turn it over to Larry.
Yeah, before I turn over the reins to Louis and Laura, I just wanted to give them a public thank you for their commitment to this program. It's a lot of work. It's not just about the 3 weeks where students and staff go to Germany, or on the reverse when visitors come to us from Germany. This is a year-long, it's a 2-year-long commitment for our students and families where they meet regularly after school, in the evenings, family evenings. So it's all the behind the scenes work that really, I want to say thank you to my two colleagues to my left. Without the support of staff, Doug and Annie Perkins before them, we don't have a German exchange program. So I wanted to share that sentiment with all of you. I also want to thank you as a board and our families and former students, current families, former families, for supporting the trip. This is a trip that began in 1992, and we were excited to share a recap from last month's festivities. So I'm going to pass the reign over to Laura and Louis, and they're going to share some outcomes from our trip.
All right. Am I speaking correctly into it? Okay. All right. So Louis, the tech side of things, we can all agree on that. And he was amazing putting together this video. We had a video that we shared the last night that we were there at the potluck with all the kids. And I don't think there were many dry eyes by the time we finished it. And Maggie, you almost made me cry, and I'm gonna not cry now. So yeah, we'll start with the video. That's probably.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you. The door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today. Learn the part and join the play. The world is here. Let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than.
Seth, how's Germany? How's Germany? Mr. Buck, how's Germany?
A little cold. Life, bigger than the world, living could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you. The door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today. Learn the part and join the play. The world is here. Let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted and you know. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could.
So for reference, I took about 3,000 videos without exaggerating. So if you want to see more, feel free to let me know and we can schedule a time. To Laura's point and to the parents' point and to Maggie's point, to the kids' points, this was a phenomenal experience. The point of the video was to celebrate all the great fun things we did. You heard from a couple of parents and a couple of students that we did some more serious trips. And so we do want to show you just some glimpses into the time we spent at a concentration camp site. A very sobering time for everyone. Across all 3 weeks while we were in Germany, we had phenomenal weather. It was warmer than it was here. Our time on the Baltic Sea coast, sublime. But appropriately, when we went to the concentration camp, it was very windy, very rainy, very bleak. In the distance, you could hear NATO training German soldiers to go to fight in Ukraine, way off in the distance in a neighboring town. So the whole atmosphere of Bergen-Belsen felt very impactful for the students, also for me and Laura. Every day, students would fill out journals, just reflecting on their day, new things they've learned, things that they wonder. Those journals would serve as sort of a lifeline if they needed to tell Laura or myself something privately. And just by reading those journals, we got a good sense that everyone understood why we went to Bergen-Belsen. They appreciated the scope of everything we saw, and we actually took some time out of the next day just to process it as a group, make sure that we all understood the same things, that students' emotions had time to process and all that. So this camp is notable for being where Anne Frank passed through and ultimately died. So just overall, just a phenomenal experience and just part of the bigger scope of what we did in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and another piece of Berlin, which these next couple of slides is there's a memorial not only to Jewish victims of the Holocaust, but to victims of the Holocaust. And it's this series, you can see it on you can see it in both pictures. It's a series of raised concrete, just slabs, basically. And it's gridded. It's gridded very evenly, and they're of different heights. So there are some where you can see over, and then there are others where you just feel dwarfed, and you just feel, it's hard to put into words. You can always see the other side. Like I took that picture just thinking I'm in the middle of a labyrinth that I'm never going to get out of, but I could see the other side. I could always see it. But our guide in Berlin was phenomenal and just we let the kids roam and then said, okay, in like 15 minutes, we're going to meet over here. And we talked about it and the way that those kids felt and the way that they were able to articulate how it felt and how Berlin and how Germany in general has just embraced their past. They've embraced it, they're facing it, they're moving on with it, but they also honor it. So it was really that in particular was really impactful for me. And just hearing these kids articulate that was amazing. And obviously this didn't make it into our celebratory video, but we did want to share these two circumstances because to me, they just showed the depth and the breadth of what these kids went through. And like I watched that video now and I'm tired all over again because I can't believe we did all that in 3 weeks. It was awesome.
And to that point, the timing was especially great because 7th graders came back just in time for our genocide unit. So the students who went to Bergen-Belsen and experienced this memorial became something of experts that they were able to contribute to their class discussions in a different way. And the 8th graders who have come back, were able to engage in the work of the Witness Stone and projects like that through a different lens. So that's really cool too. We have a much shorter video now. We didn't realize that there would be so many public comments in great favor of German exchange. And this one I think is under a minute. And it just highlights a few students' experiences and perspectives while we're in Berlin.
This trip has been a blast, not only because I've absorbed a new culture, but also because I've made a lot of new friends.
The exchange was amazing because I found a lot of new friends. I think the German exchange is important because we experienced lots of new culture.
And we had a lot of fun together. I think the exchange is important because you learn more about the language, the country, and the people. The exchange program also helps with learning a new language. This could be very useful if you want to go somewhere else in life. It teaches you so much more than you can learn in a textbook or anything that a social studies class or any class could teach you. And you can also make a lot of new friends.
The American exchange is perfect for finding new friends. And it's really difficult when you have to leave. Good.
So yeah, that's Maggie and Jolena. That's the sister that she never knew she had, but she has now for life. So yeah.
I don't even know what to say. It was an amazing experience. And again, to echo Larry's appreciation, I think I can speak easily for the board and for our community. You traveled for 3 weeks away from your families and homes, and that's a dedication of love and passion for what you do and for our kids. So thank you so much. I want to pause here to see if board members have any questions about the trip, because the second part of tonight is really to talk about a field trip request. And so let me just pause first to see if anyone has any questions from the presentation, knowing that we're going to be talking about the future of the trip.
I don't actually have a question, but I just wanted to comment on your incredible enthusiasm, very evident. And I want to thank you for leading this program. My daughter went to China many years ago when she was 12 years old, and I know firsthand what an impactful experience it was for her. And you guys helped a whole nother group have an experience like that. So thank you.
Jeanette?
I just want to say thank you for helping us to continue this tradition and wonderful educational opportunity. I know how much effort this all took, and I know what a close relationship you developed with your students and how much you helped them to grow and how much do you help the kids back at school and the kids in Germany to grow as well. So thank you very much.
I would like to echo the thank you, and tonight really highlighted for me the impact that it has on the rest of the school community, not just the kids that went. My daughter is still in touch with her German sister at the age of 25. So this was very helpful. I'm grateful to everyone who spoke, and Laura and Louis, thank you so much.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly, Catherine.
This is for Louis and Laura. When you guys went to Belgen-Bersen, it looked pretty flat. Were there any buildings left standing? I only asked this because I saw my first concentration camp at the age of 10, and I still carry the memory with me.
Yeah, I think I wasn't the only one who had seen images of Auschwitz and was honestly.
I was actually in Auschwitz.
Yeah, I was honestly anticipating seeing more. No, it's remarkable how little there was. And one thing we learned is that the barracks were wooden and there was so much disease there present that the British soldiers who freed them basically burned the camp. And it was remarkable how little there was, but in a way, or at least for me, looking out on these fields, I had to visualize it. And in a way that I won't say it was more powerful, but the pictures that I had in my mind, and like Louis said, with the training and the distance, it felt very real, for lack of a better word.
And to add to that, Laura and I, we had two separate tour guides at that camp. So Laura and I had slightly different experiences. And our tour guide took us out into the woods and we looked at some foundation remnants, in particular of a group bathroom. And just in some students' journals, they reflected on the atrocities of the camp and specified what we learned about just how they treated people. And we do a lot of work with students before we actually go to Germany to prep them for the emotions that they'll feel. And like Laura, I was expecting more like the Auschwitz feel of you walk in and it's very preserved. But this camp does a very good job of finding pictures that were taken of the camp and finding exactly where they were taken from. And they'll raise them up on a steel post at eye level, and it feels like you're in the camp at the time. So not the Auschwitz feel, but they do have a brand new sort of bleak concrete museum building with a lot of high-tech interviews and digital recordings of survivors. And so it's not quite Auschwitz, but it's really still impactful.
Any photos of the gate of entrance?
You actually walk through first the concrete museum that was built just a few years ago. There are no fences or gates that
Or Abachmachfrei across the top of it, as is in all of the concentration camps?
No, there's no fences or gates that remain.
I'm seeing your video, which was really wonderful, Louis. It just makes me realize that, we really have to make this trip equitable. I mean, there's got to, I think better opportunities for those who can't necessarily afford to go makes it all that more important. Really well done job. Thank you so much.
So excellent point, Catherine. And certainly we have been thinking about the last time that we talked about this trip at the board meeting, and it was loud and clear that the board gave us some conditional supports, but raised the question about equity, opportunity, and access. And that was not taken lightly because we have been thinking about that. And I would encourage the board to think about policy and budget as we further explore opportunity and access. That's the key, and that's how the board can leverage that. In speaking with Laura and Louis about this trip and Larry and just learning more about this, I really want to shift our thinking to a 2-year permission versus year to year, because we have our German families that are preparing for their part of this trip very shortly. And it would be unfair to think of any conditional support from the board that may put this in jeopardy. That really we have to think of this as a 2-year endeavor, that we host German families and that we also travel to Germany. And so Jill is going to pass out a field trip proposal for this coming year, where we are hosting our German students. And then the following year, which is hard to believe that we're talking about that following year, where our students travel to Germany. Because again, it would be unfair to support only part of this and not to fulfill the second half of that. And so it's not a year-to-year kind of program. And so as Jill passes that out, I'll ask the team to go ahead and do the look ahead. And the board has to keep a couple things in mind. One, certainly if there was any international issues, we would fully expect a conversation about that. And then two, knowing that this is now a 2-year look ahead, that there are some tentative pieces to this. And so the board should be considering conceptually supporting this, knowing that the exact date or location may need to be altered slightly in that. So go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Now I'm really going for it. So we were off with COVID. Louis and I kind of shadowed Doug and Annie when the Germans came in May, June. And then it was a very, very quick turnaround. And this is also a quick turnaround. This would be September, October, where we have two different scenarios where it's either early in September or later. We're kind of working that out with the various players. But this is what we've done in the past. This is what we did in May, June. Some of this, we're not on the fence with some of it, but we're working through it. Actually, one of the best conversations that we had with our German counterparts was just asking them, what did y'all love? What did you love when you were here? And we asked kids this, we asked the teachers. And there's some additions that we've added and something, did we take anything away? I don't think we did. They were all like, keep it all, but add some stuff. And you can see from the planned experiences that a lot of these are they do involve more kids in the school. The ice cream social with the board, that was tricky at the end of last year, just based on the 8th graders were so involved in graduating. But we look forward to bringing back more things like that school-wide. It'll be soccer season, football season. So the Germans are excited to be a part of that as well. We went to the adventure park. That was hands down, I think the kids that I talked to, that was their favorite piece of it. We were thinking about a day at UConn, just seeing the basketball, looking at Louis' dad's research potentially, and of course getting ice cream. Boston, the Boston trip is mainly, they go on their way out of town. So it's been traditional. I think Annie's gone. Annie went with them last time and you went too. Okay. So one of us would go and kind of give a little whirlwind Boston tour. New York City is a day. It is a long day. Last year we went from the Brooklyn Bridge crossing all the way up. So that was a highlight. Times Square. I had no idea people love Times Square that much. But they do. That's where they want to go. And the oh my goodness, the cowboy. Yes. So we had many questions in Times Square. The New Hampshire was something that Doug Perkins had added onto this trip, but we loved it. We stayed in Camp Cody, which was Nature's Classroom. 6th grade has a really strong connection with that. Nature's Classroom comes to school for us, and they have an amazing facility in New Hampshire on a lake. They went up the Cog Railway to the top of Mount Washington. then on the way back, we went to Strawberry Bank in Portsmouth, which is like, kind of like Sturbridge. That was the feel that I got from it. Ironically, I wasn't that impressed with Strawberry Bank, but the Germans really were. So we were like, well, maybe we won't go. And now we're looking at it again. And this time, because of their flight time, we had a farewell breakfast instead of the farewell dinner the night before. That went really well because it gave families the opportunity the night before to say their goodbyes. And so it kind of, I don't know, it felt really good. And this is what we've done in the past with a couple things added. As Peter said, most of it is not tentative, but we're still playing around with some details. And as soon as we get approval, we'll start really making those phone calls in earnest. So, yeah.
So for next year, one of your handouts is a field trip proposal for the fall of 2023. And then if you would kindly advance the slide and briefly talk about the following year, following a proposed itinerary for our students to visit Germany.
I think that's just.
So this is a glimpse of the calendar that you saw when you approved our most recent trip. And there's a lot, and you saw in the video that we do a lot. And it was interesting for me and Laura to go in for the first time, seeing this calendar, trying to figure out how the pieces connect, and then realizing that everything works. A lot of this is about fostering relationships. So it feels like there's as much here that's purely academic, educational content as there is things that are geared towards making sure that they're developing these interpersonal relationships. So namely this overnight trip that we do to Eckernford up on the Baltic Sea coast. We do everything. We pass through Hamburg, we do a city tour, we stay at a hostel, we come back, we visit the Marine Center on the Baltic Sea coast. And for 3 weeks, we don't stop moving, and it's awesome. So we're looking for fall 2024 to get back on this fall cycle. You may remember that this past cycle, because of COVID and just easing back into things, we had asked to delay until March, but we'd like to get back to the routine of the fall going and then the following fall hosting, so on and so forth.
Questions, anyone? Yes, Kelly.
Thank you guys all so much for everything that you shared. This is great. I have never doubted the impact of the trip, and I don't feel like the things that I was concerned about were addressed in this presentation. So I have a few questions, and that's not to negate any of the importance of it, but I was really concerned about this being something elite for students. So I'm curious as to how much the trip is costing families, how much financial aid we're providing, and how are we doing the selection process?
So we really try when we're recruiting students and trying to capture their interests and hope that they apply. We try and get them to understand that we can subsidize and we can work with families who are in need. In the interest of privacy, we did work with a family this most recent cycle who had some limitations that we found out about after they had been accepted, and that's how we want it to work, that we're not discounting anyone from applying, that we're encouraging any student who feels like this is something they can learn from to apply. And then we work with Larry, we work with Peter to see, we have money in our German account, this little buffer that we work with, and there's ways that we can help families out. I think it's such an important experience. A lot of our students who came with us had never been to Europe before. Some students were getting passports for the first time. They're the only people in their family who have a passport. And it feels like you're just broadening horizons by offering a trip like this.
So I'm going to jump in and just, on the second page, you'll find the financial breakdown for the student costs of it. It's a self-funded program. However, as Louis, Laura, and Larry have often said, money is not the reason why somebody would not participate. There are funds, scholarships, and an ability for not only at the school, but the district level to ensure that anyone who wants to go on the trip will go on the trip. Your question about who's eligible, you could certainly chime in. My understanding is that it's a split between 7th and 8th grade students. One of the key components is a commitment to the program over time and a willingness for a family to host families. And that probably is one of the more significant pieces for this experience. I want the board to think that if equity, opportunity, and access in other trips, and including this one, is important, then the board needs to consider policy and budget that's underwrites that piece of it and that supports it. Every time that I looked into this, I saw again and again a well-supported program that any student who was willing to make the 2-year commitment for an after-school program, pretty much for the bulk of it, and for families who are willing to host, that really there was a self-selection process going on, and that there weren't an abundant people on a wait list per se. But if there was a wait list, do you have a process?
Yeah, I can speak to this personally, actually, because my youngest son was on the wait list to go to Germany and was the first alternate, did not get to go. He was a school host. So if we have more than we can take, it's a lottery system. We go through the applications really carefully. There's a student application, there's a family, and not an application, but a family questionnaire that we take very seriously. We also obviously talk to teachers to see, can the kids handle this academically? Can you handle being away from school for 3 weeks? Because that's huge, especially when you get in the more upper grade range. We'll start in the 6th grade. So we'll start when we go back, kind of pitching this to social studies classes. There's a great buzz, and we think it's going to be even more buzzy because the kids have been. These kids didn't have the kids coming to their classrooms going, oh my gosh, you have to do this. These 6th graders will. They'll have the same kids who just spoke with you coming in. And so I anticipate a huge number of applications this time. And we'll go into a lottery system, and the families understand that we can only take 10 from each grade. And they were very clear about that going in. And so you kind of move beyond you move through the process, and then there's a lottery at the end. So if we need, 5 males, then we just draw the names from the ones that we've kind of accepted.
With the family applications, students who have blended families or who have 2 homes, do you do applications on both places and allow that movement?
Yeah, we've had a few of those instances. And it's usually we've talked with families about it because it depends on the arrangement that they have. I know, once again, going back to my experience, the French students who came with Zach was mostly at my house, but his dad and I both did the application process together. So yeah.
If I may, Peter, I don't want to make this too simplistic sounding, but I think we have 2 things here. We have a absolutely wonderful, which I think we can all agree, a wonderful, unique Mansfield experience for our kids. And in my mind, to lose that would be tragic. But it also has highlighted the issue of equity and what, Martha eloquently let us know that the last time we discussed this. So as I'm saying, I'm thinking of 2 things: the importance of this program carrying on, and then the importance, as you mentioned, of the board getting together as a policy committee and actually sitting down and deciding what is it that we want for all of our kids. Are we willing to pay for a one-night experience somewhere else? Once the policy committee figures out what it is the board wants and is willing to pay for, then I suggest we set up some kind of subcommittee that includes parents, middle school teachers, staff, and the policy folks from the board. And then we can take some time and look at how can we be more equitable with what we're doing. But to say this program shouldn't be, to me, seems tragic. The history, the everything you've talked about, and I mentioned the fact that it does impact so many other kids and staff in the school. It's just a great experience. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking it two ways. Let's keep this one going, and let's take a hard look at what it is that we want to be more equitable for our kids. Martha.
Yeah, all the reasons people spoke tonight, there are those experienced by 20 children. So we have 440 students who didn't get that experience. They didn't get any of those. A lot of it are soft skills and so forth. They might get it in another year, but as this cycles through, it always operates that way. So I was, to have a broader discussion. I was wondering even if the parent advisory committee, parents could come and talk. We have a more discussion situation there. It's more of a round table. We can brainstorm to see what would work to make, it says lead with equity. That's our first mantra. And everybody with all the, the aspects are interesting, they're fascinating, they're well-liked, they're educational, but we can't have it for just 20 students and have 440 not have it. And even though the students are coming to visit and people talk about it and so forth, when I've been to this sort of place, I know to be there, to see Michelangelo's David write like this is different from looking at it in a magazine or newspaper or something like that. So we have to figure out a way. And so I was thinking if we could have a roundtable discussion, and I was thinking because we already have the setup of the parent advisory committee, if we could come and toss about some ideas about how we can facilitate this. And as Kathy said, to increase the equitableness of it and work out some sort of a compromise.
So are you, Martha, if I may ask, are you talking about this program becoming more equitable, or the fact that we should sit down as a district and as a board, discuss how we can get more equitable access for kids' experiences?
Well, I think that this is right in front of us. So of course, this is included in it. And this is like, exhibit A right now. And other things fall into that. So I think this is what's on our table now. So we need to, iron this out and get this straight. And I think other things will fall into place. This is the big item.
So, but I just want to go back to the reason why we're asking is that we have German families that are starting to have to make decisions now. And so we can't be conditional on this. The other thing the board needs to know is that you're policy budget driven. And just because you desire and, having every student go on an overnight trip doesn't mean that we'll have 2 teachers who are willing to give 3 weeks of their time. We can't mandate that. That any school that provides a field trip follows the passion and drive of teachers who step up and say, I'm willing to do that. I want to do that. And then any principal or leader is going to say, how can I help you get that done? I think your best move, if I may, is to support this 25+ year amazing opportunity, but to not let go of the equity piece of it. And you did that, by the way. You increased the amount of money we put in field trips and student experiences. So we're heading in that direction. What we need is, as the board chair suggested, policy that says if you're going to do a curriculum-based field trip, you must make sure that every student participates. And by the way, that's what we do. This is really an extracurricular opportunity. This is not a curriculum-based trip. This is analogous to a soccer team, to a drama club, to a lot of things. Yes, they are asking for school time, but they're not asking for money. They're asking for support, knowing that most of this work happens outside of the school day. And so I think it would be important for our school leaders, our teacher leaders to hear, yes, we support that and we are grateful that you continue to provide this experience in leadership. And then to Martha's point, let's be serious about then how do we make our best move to go towards an equitable piece. The final thing I'll say is that equity doesn't mean the same for all, right? So equity isn't equal. Equity is giving people what they need. And we know that some students and some families would never want to be a part of this experience. This is not one size fits all, but we want to make sure that we globally are ensuring that all of our students have a chance to visit and experience different cultures and opportunities to gain those soft skills, but also to make those connections to the 5 C's in 21st century learning.
One moment, Jeanette, please. And then Martha.
I want to point out that my children did not go on this trip. They went to Mansfield Middle School. They had a wonderful experience, but they did not go on this trip because they were not ready for this trip. Yet they benefited greatly from the program. They had friends and neighbors who were hosts, and as part of our close-knit neighborhood, they participated in that. They learned by participating with the children who were in their classes. And they had a host of other experiences at Mansfield Middle School that really made them the, I think, wonderful adults that they are now. And this isn't a trip, as Pierre said, that is a curricular-based trip. It is an extracurricular experience. And Mansfield Middle School does an amazing job of providing extracurricular experiences for children who have all kinds of needs, interests, and desires. And this is one piece of that. Do I think that we could find a way to support this more so that families wouldn't have to worry about the cost issue as much? Yes. But this trip is not for everyone. And yet it does affect everyone in the school in a very, very positive way.
Martha and then Susanna.
And Catherine.
No, it's okay. I was gonna go ahead.
Okay. No, I don't think that we have to decide tonight. And we have a parent advisory meeting coming up in just a couple of weeks. And I think that we can alter the structure of this and come to a compromise and look at how to make this more equitable. And perhaps that would answer some questions. And so I would not be interested in a vote tonight.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, I just want to say that when I spoke about equity, I'm not saying that I don't think this trip should happen. I think it's a great experience. I don't necessarily agree that everybody at MMS did get some kind of an experience to the trip, because I know for a fact some kids didn't. And those that did, fabulous. But I personally don't want to vote on it tonight just because I'm unfortunately not able to be there tonight, and the screen is very blurry. I don't have all the paperwork. But I also want to say is that we don't necessarily have to make it a policy or a board budget issue. I mean, whatever happened to working for something you wanted to do? You know, I mean, when I was in school, we used to have bake sales when we wanted to. In fact, our drama club was run on bake sales. You know, that there are other ways we can approach to finding funding but I think we need to have that initial discussion on how to go about it. And like I said, I don't have all the documentation in front of me, so I would not feel comfortable voting tonight.
Susanna?
I will, there's nothing I can add to all the wonderful dimension that everyone has brought to this today. This has been it really has helped me rethink this conversation. And I would like to vote on this tonight because I know that if we delay, then the trip is in jeopardy. So I think it's important for us to vote on this evening, but also to continue having those discussions. I think, Kathy, it's super helpful for me to think about this as two separate kinds of things, and also reframing this as an extracurricular opportunity that we do provide for families. And just so appreciate, again, everyone being here and being part of this conversation. So I'm not going to add anything else that profound that hasn't already been said. I think obviously we need to be thinking about this more deeply as a board. And I'm, as the chair of the policy committee, I'd be happy to have a meeting, and I think we should schedule that soon. I would love to have family involvement in that, and maybe really purposefully invite families to come and talk about this moving forward. But I do not want to put this future trip in jeopardy. So I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to move that we approve the field trip request to approve the German exchange program for 2 years from 2023-24 and 2024-25 to include both domestic and international travel, including a 2-night trip from Mansfield Middle School to Nature's Classroom in Freedom, New Hampshire in fall of 2023, date to be determined, and a 3-week trip to Sarstadt, Germany in fall of 2024, hopefully from September 14th to October 5th, but those dates were a little bit different than what you guys had. So dates a little bit to be determined, but around that. So I'd like to make that motion. Anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kelly. Any further discussion?
Excuse me, Kathy, David's hand is up.
David?
Well, I was going to just speak in support of what Susanna said. She made the motion and I was going to second it. I support what Susanna said for all those reasons. We should go ahead with it. We've talked about this for months. We're knowledgeable about it. We're eligible. We're able to vote.
Great. Thank you, David. So we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, this is 1.5 years away, and I don't think we have to rush into it tonight. We had a little discussion. I think, we didn't vote on the last one until, just a couple of months beforehand. So I don't think we have to do it, rush into this. I think we can have more thorough discussion and restructure this.
Any other discussion? Jeanette?
It's not 1.5 years away. We have families from Germany who are making their plans now. And this is a trip which is dependent upon that relationship. And in fact, it is about building relationships. So it's not 1.5 years because this trip encompasses the visit and the trip there. And so we really are under a time constraint. And so I do wish to vote on it today. I think it's very important.
Thank you. And we do have a motion on the floor. So Ellie?
I actually really like the 2-year model, and I don't think this is a quick fix. I think this is a work toward fix. We're not going to take away this experience for the kids that get it because we have other issues with equity. And I also think that we need to continue to challenge the superintendent and the principal and the chaperones to make sure that they're really reaching out to students who may not view this as an opportunity for themselves, and that we can get better at that over time and through these discussions and through that committee. And we do need to offer other opportunities. This can't be the only thing, but we're not going to take this away because right now it is the only thing. So I appreciate what you're saying, Martha, but I don't feel like any further discussion would make me want this experience not to happen. I just want more access for kids who might not think it's accessible to them. And I want more other opportunities for kids as well.
Great. Anyone else?
Yes, me, Catherine. The half where the part that the German exchange students come to the States, is their itinerary set in gold? Just because we have Sturbridge Village, you know, half an hour away from stores. We have the Indian um living museum in Cape Cod, and we have, you know, our own Indian museum. I think it's the Pequot. That is it possible that New Hampshire could possibly be moved to more local stuff? Or is
Catherine,
it set in
I
stone?
appreciate what you are saying. I'm sorry. But we have a motion on the floor to address this as is right now. I think what you're saying is really what we want to get involved with from
No, I'm
here.
asking if it's set in stone, because what we're voting on is also the itinerary. So I just want to make sure that the itinerary is possibly flexible.
So I believe you're voting on the itinerary in the planned trip to New Hampshire. And we are working on those dates. We haven't set those in stone, the New Hampshire trip, because we're waiting for Board of Ed approval. That trip is 5 months away, and we're bringing, you know, a large number of people to one location. So I think that location is a place that we find to be affordable, and it does extend into New England. Remember, our students left their state in Germany. They did not stick around in Starstead and remain there. They visited Hamburg and Berlin outside of their state. So we are giving a comparable experience to our German counterparts. We have found in conjunction with our German counterparts that the Nature's Classroom location is a well-liked and affordable location for local travel. In terms of whether we visit Sturbridge Village on the ride back in lieu of another site, that's for our team to think about and consider. And we have to, there's a number of things that we weigh in that decision.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye or signify somehow.
Aye.
Opposed? I don't, yes, thank you, Martha. I don't know about Catherine.
Abstain.
I'm sorry?
Abstain.
Okay,
I don't
thank
have
you.
the documentation in front of me. I don't feel comfortable voting either way.
Thank you. So the motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight, for sharing your stories. It's wonderful, just wonderful. Thank you so very much. Laura and Louis. That brings us to, well, I'll let folks scoot out. All right, thank you. Superintendent Dart, take it away.
Thank you. Again, I'm just, I'm impressed with our 6 core beliefs are very evident tonight. And that doesn't make it easy. It means it's real and authentic and it's working. And so while these are hard conversations sometimes to have, what I heard was that the board continued to go back to those 6 core beliefs and hold us accountable. So I appreciate that. But I also heard the students illustrating the result of those core beliefs as well. So you know that that's our North Star. We will continue to focus on that and be lifted by it and challenged by it. So we began this evening with a great announcement from the chair about the new Mansfield Elementary School. I have Principal Lauren Rodriguez with me because tonight really is a huge celebration. And I wanted to make sure that front center that we save space to reflect and hear about the opening days at MES. I do want to remind the board that the opening day was the result of careful, intentional planning and transitions. Those two timelines have nothing to do with construction. They have everything to do with human capital. And so starting in the fall of 2021, when Lauren was appointed the principal, she immediately started meeting one-on-one with every single staff member. She set out a course to meet with every single grade level department team, to set goals, to share common expectations, that we developed an MOU to provide additional days, that we really thought about how do we build an understanding with our students and community. We had the beam signing. We ended the year with grade level teams combining to do a field trip across the 3 elementary schools. And then in 2022, 23, just a huge amount of work went into transitioning a community of scholars, a community of educators, a community of people who were excited and some not so excited, but we saw a vision of making sure that the doors opened and that we stepped over that threshold with confidence. And I'm just so proud of Lauren. I want to applaud her, and I would actually ask the board and the audience. She has put in hundreds, if not thousands of hours in this endeavor. Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the extremely warm welcome. I'm really happy to be on the other side of this. As you can imagine, the steps that we've been engaged in were things that each and every person had their questions, their wonderings, their concerns. Questions probably felt they got to the millions, it felt like at times. And I appreciate so much. And I want to give you just a quick little snapshot of where we are now that we've moved in. So you've gotten some updates from me along the way. One of our big levers and moves was having our mascot front and center. We kind of held back on some of our core work to make sure that the opening day still felt like it would have been the opening day that these children would have had if we had opened up our building back at the beginning of this year. So we had a couple secrets up our sleeves, and we were happy to reveal them. The students really came to life. So I'm happy to report, that when you move 2 schools into 1 school, when you move 3 schools into 2 schools into 1 school, you end up in a place where each time you make a transition, you need to be really thoughtful and careful about every step that you're making, not only for communication to staff and families, but also to make sure that each of these policies and practices are things that can be sustainable over time. We were very happy to report the work that Candace Morrell has done in keeping our buses on time, making small adjustments to make sure that we were all cheering. And yesterday, 4:45, walking out the door, far, far better than our first days that we all remember not so long ago from September. But I just wish to share that that didn't happen without a tremendous amount of work working closely with M&J. So huge thanks to Candace on every single aspect, reaching out individually to families to make sure that the situations were taken care of. She worked carefully with the secretarial staff to ensure this as well. And then we have just probably the best bus duty team in creation, giving their feedback, working that duty to move all of our students through. We believe that we on buses dismiss close to 460 students using 16 buses and 1 van. That's no small feat. But I can say with assurance that the building was designed, especially that bus loop was designed in a way that we could do this and do it with efficiency. Thrilled about that. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about breakfast and lunch. As you know, some of our students do not eat breakfast at home. They come to school and they choose to eat breakfast in school. Every student has that option to do that. I want to give a great shout out to Mariah, who has worked hand in hand with us to take something so small, try to figure out how to make it wonderful for kids, welcoming, loving, delicious, and smooth. Mariah has pitched in with both hands, both feet. She's led her team in a way that we are so appreciative and grateful. And our kids love walking in. It's the first option that they get to be able to pick what their breakfast will be. And they start their day in the classrooms eating. It's just a wonderful program. Lunch, we have 5 different lunch waves that we're utilizing right now. We're feeding about 100 students in each lunch wave. Today, I watched those 100 students get their lunches in about 6 minutes going through the line, sitting. They have plenty of time to eat. And we thought that it was going to be a little bit tight. Talk about smooth operations. One of the core commitments that we had with our staff was that we weren't going to engage in a schedule change when we merged our 2 buildings together. We are running 2 separate building schedules in one building, and everyone is working hard to make that work. We had to do very minimal changes to make that happen. The reason that we made that commitment was so every student would be able to say, I'm still going to have my same related arts teacher. And of course, we would still have our same classroom teacher, but you have to imagine many of the students were concerned about this. Who's going to be my teacher? I'm going to a new building. I know when I go to a new building, I have a new teacher. These were things that they just would naturally assume. But when you move in April, well, you don't, they needed to understand this. I worked with our leadership team within Mansfield Elementary School to sort of start to pre-think what are the things that we know that all students are going to need and what are the things some students will need. People created these beautiful social storybooks every classroom had to showcase what were the pieces and the parts, what did the spaces look like, who were they going to be interacting with. All the way up to a special section during morning announcements where they were able to learn a little bit more about the building through pictures, through questions, really thinking about what's tier 1 need to be instructionally for all of our students to be able to not have anxiety going into this building. Not only did this help students, it obviously helped teachers too, and our paraeducators. Many of our paraeducators, there were just parts and questions where you would say, how's this going to work? And by being in a classroom, hearing it through the morning announcements, people understood, oh, okay. So if they missed that meeting or if they didn't see that email, you felt like there was consistency in the messaging. I want to just shout out at that point to Jen Zuccarazzo, who just spoke to you a few minutes ago. And I'll say her name again in a few minutes later because Jen was instrumental in making those. She has a core team that she works with, but instrumental in making those morning announcements, which helped to pave the way to a successful transition here. And then finally, parent pickup. Our parent pickup, we have been managing almost 100 cars out in our lot. We can safely say 43 cars fit through the area, which means that we have about double the amount, maybe a little more that's left on the roadway. We have a plan for tomorrow. We're going to try something else. Today, we tried a zipper effect to try to get a few more cars off the road. It didn't quite get us where we needed to be. So we're just going to keep trialing plans until we get to a place that makes sense. The parents that have been in that line, I get to touch base with them each day. They have been flexible and kind and positive. So a huge shout out. I can tell you that is a stressful thing, making sure that we get all the names in 15 minutes and, the processes and procedures there. But I appreciate all parts of that. We have a pretty intricate system inside to manage students, and we've been successful with those pieces. So now I just think the last part should be fixed up by tomorrow, getting the cars off of the roadway. So I'm looking, we had to trial a few different things to land where we're going to be. Finally, I'll just say that, today was really the first day of what we will have. It's awesome. It's awesome to be able to be in one building. I have a fabulous assistant principal who I'm looking forward to working with. We laughed together. It was our first day working together on Tuesday. We've really been working separately and doing similar things. Luckily, we're so philosophically aligned that it's been great. But I can tell you that the pressure surely feels like it's been lifted in many, many ways. This is just the first slide, a handful of, this is one classroom door. This is one of our pre-K teachers. This classroom is our happy place. And, you know, you really start to see what Jen spoke about a few minutes ago. Teachers' anxiety levels are down, and we're starting to see people really be able to understand how to use the building. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, please. So before the move, I'm sure you could only imagine what this looked like in the past few weeks. Boxes and boxes. Here is just some reading intervention materials that one of our reading coaches, Amanda Doyle, was packing up. In the middle, this was a share out session from some internal committee work that we decided to do. One of the things we realized come around December was that staff wasn't necessarily feeling like that, number one, that they knew the building, and number two, they didn't feel like they really understood how the building was going to work. So we made a decision at that point that each teacher was going to be on a committee, and we turned our faculty meetings into committee work, specifically aligned to the goals to get into the building, things on opening day procedures. And we really saw outstanding evidence of teacher leadership. This is a group of committed, highly professional staff that really have wowed me. And this was just one of those share out sessions. We did a brief, each committee had 5 minutes just to give the overview. And then we had our professional day to really dig into those details that were necessary for everyone. Because sometimes at the end of the day, it's harder to listen, especially when you're getting so many different details. And then finally, classroom on the right, if you remember, we did our student field trips that week of March 27th. During those field trips, you had students come into their classrooms. It was their first time to really get acquainted. The following week was the pre-K students. But generally, you had students who, for the first time, learned how to use the building. What happened on those nights, which was turned into some magic, Superintendent Dart had put together a beautiful schedule of opening up the classrooms to families, and it was a combination effort. We really had everybody there. We were answering questions about dismissal and arrival. We had families come into the building, but what we also saw, which was fabulous, our students became the leaders of their parents because they had done those field trips during the day. And they didn't need more than 1 or 2 times into the building, into a massive building. But because of the thoughtful design from TSKP, the way that they designed the colors so that students could do their wayfinding, they didn't need too many, reminders of how to get through this building. So that was sort of the first moment where I said, oh, this it's not like we're going to lose kids. There were definitely staff wondering, are we going to lose kids in different places of this building? And, we started to think, no, now it's just going to be teaching them what are our expectations for them. And I can tell you that has been the golden dream. The other thing to mention, UConn winning came at just the right moment. Can I just share a little bit about this? It probably was one of the most difficult times for the staff. I was in the middle of box packing and getting ready to move. But when you saw students showing up and teachers showing up in UConn gear and them continually winning, I think it was a spirit-driven thing that I can't even describe to all of you. It was the rally cry. Here we are. They're making it. This is our hometown basketball team, and we are watching them go for the gold and go for the win. And ironically, the way the stars align, we had planned the pep band to come and present to our students at Goodwin, grades 2, 3, and 4, the day that the pep band got back from their celebration. Students had prepared songs to play along with them, our 4th grade instrumentalists. And I wiped tears that day. It was such a great moment because it was a pinnacle moment in the midst of some really challenging times. So thank you, UConn basketball, for winning. They were a part of our story. This week, Monday was our professional day. That time was designed really for teachers to be able to do fine-tuning details ask the big burning questions or the small questions. What were the things? What I can tell you about that day is there weren't really big burning questions. And I left that day with Becky. We wiped our forehead and said, I think we're in a good place, because we felt like, are there details that we were unsure? Did we miss something? We thought we had it, but not until you really start doing the names on, the spaces on the lockers, did we really think of everything? The questions were small. We thought, okay, here we go. So Tuesday and Wednesday were our soft opening days. So the first day on Tuesday was our grade 2, 3, and 4 moving in. We unleashed our massive tiger right there. That is Thunder the Tiger. We had a vote just a few weeks ago. What was the tiger's name? Just to kind of get our energy back around getting our tiger going. We have a fabulous mascot inside of the tiger that is just the perfect person. Thunder the Tiger greeted our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students near a red carpet and under a balloon arch. Pictures I'm sure you've all seen, so I didn't put some of those up here. But we had that opportunity to see students pulling into their new school, their faces lighting up. We had a wonderful array of different people there to support that first day. Superintendent Dart had brought literally everybody from central office almost to find ways that we could pitch in and help. And little did we realize we needed help. And I was so grateful to have people there, because that first day it was just Goodwin students there and Goodwin staff, which meant that there were a number of people who were back at Vinton who couldn't run their duties, which we knew, but we figured we'll just run short. No, it was brilliant to have that extra support there. We ran a half schedule day, which went well, because the afternoon we had made a commitment to the teachers that they would have 3 hours of uninterrupted planning on these first 2 days. And that was, a gift, but that was also an opportunity for us to say, what can we do to celebrate with kids and find a moment to feel like we're one school coming together. Johnny the K is our middle picture here. He did a wonderful character assembly with all kinds of fun hats and core messages that the kids really enjoyed. And then on the right, this may have been the biggest conga line I've ever seen. We had Eastbrook Fitness come. They donated their time to do some activities to help the students get their energy out, have activities, together doing some movement break type things. The same schedule continued on to Wednesday. We focused in on the pre-K first grade, pre-K K and first grade. So I made a mistake on the slide. At the left-hand picture, Thunder the Tiger and I went from classroom to classroom for all of our little students as they ran up and gave hugs and kisses and, loved their moment with Thunder. The middle picture shows those preschool students becoming an animal and doing movement breaks. So the student on the right, she's a bunny right there. She's doing some hopping. We had snakes. We had all kinds of, we even had a robot show up there, could all do the robot. These were big days, big events. Today was really our first day trialing, everything without the bells and whistles and just being, in a good place. And I have just this last piece and really comes from the heart. I have so many thanks for our students, for our staff, for our families who've been patient every step of the way. It has been humbling to watch the way people have given us grace. I want to thank each of the staff-led opening committees who I believe did more work than they ever believed that they were going to need to, but the fine-tuning of details were so important to get this right. And to each of those team leaders, there's 6 teachers that are involved in that. They either were asked or they volunteered to do this work, and it was not easy, and it was fabulous. I really want to sincerely thank all of you. Many of you offered firsthand support from bulletin boards. Thank you, Catherine. to all different ways of just motivational pieces, being there for the family tours, constantly giving us your positive energy. You know, it meant more than you could imagine. To Superintendent Dart for recognizing what we were going to need at the time. He always was a step ahead, thinking about, let's think about this or think about that. Thank you, Peter. To our school building committee, I don't know if anyone ever counted up their hours, but the number of details that they were able to come up with and work through, I'm humbled by the sacrifice and the dedication to the town. Mansfield Elementary School PTO, they continually stepped up when asked, and they often volunteered on their own. This is a new committee that we met with last year that was at the forefront of pulling all these pieces and details together while still pushing us. You know, they even had questions like, Lauren, what are the details for 4th grade promotion? And I smiled and said, I don't know. We got to get into the new building, you know, but we're going to be able to pick up and move on for the rest of the details that we need for the rest of the year from this point out. Eastbrook Fitness dedicated their time. They brought 7 people from their gym, which is located at Eastbrook Mall. I thought that was fabulous. They're also making a financial donation to the PTO. And I can't be short in mentioning that the teamwork that I've seen from Newfield, Colliers, CSKP, and every single partner is a job well done. And I just want to say thank you to all the people who were involved. I don't know that I specifically said it, but Jill and her team has been out at our building with their coats on, stepping in each and every way. Lauren, what do you need? Lauren, what do you need? The MMS staff, I put that picture online. I don't know if people saw it, but we had that day. Larry and Danielle have been there helping us think through details and talk through everything. And finally, again, I want to give thanks to Mariah and Candace, who not only offer help, but they've been standing next to me saying, let's think about this, let's try this. I hope I didn't miss somebody, but there have been so many people to say thank you to along the way. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of all the ways that we felt supported and were able to help us get the job done. This was not one person. This is a community effort, and I felt that. Thank you for letting me be the leader of it. And Martha?
There's one person you forgot to thank.
Thank you.
Okay, and that is, we give kudos to Principal Rodriguez.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
Really do.
I have to say too, I have a lot of kids that live in my neighborhood and I walk my dogs more than I should. And every kid, I know it's only been 2 days, but every kid this week is just, I'm like, how's school? They're like, great. Like it's a normal day. So I think just the seamless transition, I think these kids are going to think they were there all year. I think all of you will feel like that too. You'll just block out the past, but good job. And I hope you sleep this weekend.
Thank you. I hope you know this. Can I say one more thing? By the calendar adjustments that you made, I want to share, I took, it was a total of 6 days off over the break. And that was because we had our PD days. So you did actually gift me time by giving us the PD days the way that you did. So I have a secret love of a place called Kripalu in the Berkshire Mountains, and I was able to go there and just really relax. So yeah, you helped with that. Well deserved. Please.
I can't say like possibly, I mean, we know like 0.0000001% of what you all have done and the tremendous, I mean, this is such a big week for our whole town and our whole community. It's profound. And I, just again, not to just thinking about this, we started this process, I think about 2006, maybe Candace and I were chatting about this in the grocery store yesterday. I think, and we stand on the shoulders of many giants of prior board members and the building committee and parents going to visit schools all over the state and thinking a lot and thoughtfully about how this is going to best work for our community. And for us to be here now, but thanks to the work that you and your whole team and everyone has done. And I mean, it's really just, I couldn't be more proud of all of us and just so incredibly grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And just to add to that list of thanks, and I know Lauren, if she could remember all of these pieces, but Jamie in IT has been just tirelessly making sure that everything, facilities, has bent over backwards. I think Jody and Lisa in particular are most valuable players that, you know, their boots are on the ground each and every day. But again, it's a community effort. And so to our families, to the students, to the faculty, staff, to town hall, because it was also DPW and everybody just stopped and said, what can we do? And so thank you to you all. So this is, wow, hard to follow an act like that, but I just want to make sure that we continue to touch base with just some quick updates from talent management. We are in recruitment mode. So we attended a recruitment fair at UConn. We're getting ready for our next one. Looking for opportunities to find talented educators that will help us diversify our workforce. So we've done a lot in terms of our website, events, and our training to make sure that we are ready and that we are gathering our teams together so they have the right tools. I want to shout out our teaching and learning director, Candace, who during the professional learning days before the April break, developed a curriculum design tool that Larry and his team have started to work on that eloquently really threads the needle and brings the 5 C's and our student-centered learning definition and our curriculum design into a template that we feel will be the guiding document that we can start to share out that has far more details than our original curriculum documents, which were very helpful, guiding, but sometimes ethereal in terms of like, well, what does that really look like? What does that mean? And how can we ensure that we are linking our transfer goals and our 5 C's? So this is brilliant work, and we're looking forward to sharing more about it. We also had with the leadership team an opportunity to visit with a CERC leader in PBIS and brought a team of leaders to Kennelly School in Hartford to learn more about behavior technicians and PBIS and school culture and climate. We learned a ton and we were so excited that we've already started to think of ways that we can develop this relationship over time to partner with Kennelly, which is really a microcosm of Mansfield in the sense that it's a pre-K-8 building. And when I was there as a principal, it was about the size of Mansfield. And so we probably could learn a lot from this relationship in terms of just sharing resources and ideas. And then finally, I just want to shout out one of our first grade teachers, Anthea Groton, was a teacher leader fellow who led a trip to Finland over April break. So if you can imagine moving into a new building, then taking a week to travel and lead study over in Finland, looking at their educational system, and then to be back and ready and teaching. So we were just so proud of her leadership and her work in the talent area. And then finally, the engagement, which we know we're building partnerships. I just had a family advisory meeting, and we're gearing up for our last one of the year, which will be at MES. And families had requested that we talk about curriculum. So Candace will be there, and they also wanted to hear from Jenny Walton, our recycling coordinator, to see how we're really tying in that net zero with zero waste initiatives. So I'm looking forward to rounding out that engagement. And then just earlier this week, I had a chance with Kathy Ward, our board chair, to present our budget. And then I'll be attending town council on Monday, giving another update of MES. With that, I'm going to transition to your agenda and with the permission from the board chair, introduce our next item and our next person. So I'm thrilled to shift gears here to invite Chef Mariah Popolowski-Tilly. Mariah, if you want to come on up. See if I can get to your. Thrilled to have Mariah here. She is turning heads. You heard Lauren talk about her. I just cannot believe that we've seen just a wonderful evolution of our food service program that continues to lift up our core values of equity, of global citizenship through food service, the quality of our food service program, the strengthening of farm to school, and just the wellness approach with staff and scratch cooking. So welcome, Mariah.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what we've been working on. So here. So tonight I just wanted to go over a little bit about what's happening in the broader world of school food through the National School Lunch Program, what's happening with our participation in town, and then reviewing some of the things that we've accomplished, some of the engagement and events that we've done to get the kids a little more involved and excited about food. And the team, the food service team, our vision and plan for the future, and then any questions you might have. So as you know, for the past couple of years, we've had free meals. And in an effort to transition families and students back into paying for meals this year, the state of Connecticut had some money set aside to give a few months worth of support in order to have free meals. So our money that we got from the state and then your support helped us to be able to extend free meals to the end of December. And in January, back from holiday break in the new year, we started back with paid meals again. And that was a huge transition for the food service staff and for families. But we were able to put into place our policy, your policy of making sure that kids didn't feel any kind of shame in order to get a meal. And we did have a couple of kids that still, you know, didn't want to have a lunch because they were afraid of a balance and things like that. But we worked with the teachers and support services, and we were able to get every kid that had any kind of concerns a meal. So that was really great. And all the food service staff made sure that they went up to kids that weren't eating to see if they needed something or wanted something. And that's a culture that we've really fostered over the past few months. So what happened in between that time was there was a lot of legislative work, mostly I think behind was End Hunger Connecticut nonprofit organization. They're really working towards getting free meals for all kids. And it's sort of a national movement now, obviously. There's 2 states that have enacted it, and there's 3 more that have for next year that it will be a permanent free meals for all kids. And you can see on the map, there's a lot of states that are working on it. So we have, since the beginning of March, been able to have free meals again, because the state of Connecticut has put some money aside to see it through the end of this school year. So starting March 1st, which was midweek, we went from paid meals and we shifted to free meals again. So I think in the next slide, I'll give you a little more information about participation, but I'll show you. And this is just a snapshot of our free and reduced, just to kind of give you an idea. I don't know that it's much different than it has been in the past. But we take a look at the direct certification list every week, and any children that have SNAP or certain categories of Husky qualify for free or reduced, and we add them back in. So even though we have universal free at the moment, we still update this list to make sure that we have, those kids categorized correctly. We still get applications. There was a big push again in January to get more applications because we had families paying again. So we had, all different people in the school system helping us to get kids applications, help parents to get the kids their free meals if they were eligible. This is a chart that shows you where we are with participation. So it's month to month. It shows the total number of lunches served for each month. And then it's separated by school. So all of the MES Goodwin Invention I put together just for ease. But you can see in September we had around 5,000-ish meals for the middle school and the elementary school. And then in October, we jump almost to 6,000. And then November, December, January, and February are going to look different for a couple of reasons. They're shorter months because we have less school days, but you can see where in January and February, we didn't have free meals. The amount of meals we served was a lot different than back in the fall. And then we kind of gained on our momentum that we were getting there in the fall back in March when we had free meals again. And it's really, stark to see the difference between the amount of children we served in September and the amount of children we served in March. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of participation. We want to serve every kid. We want to have something that every child wants to eat. We want every kid to have a great lunch. So we know this is important. I'm, as a dietitian, have spent my career feeding kids and teaching families and all different people how to get kids to eat well so that they can learn. And we know this greatly affects their behavior, right? If they don't eat, they're not going to be cooperative or happy or wanting to learn. It affects their mental health. It affects their physical health. Making sure every kid is able to eat and has something that they want improves equity. And it also, for our program, increases our revenue. So the more kids that eat, it's better for us, right? So in order to do that, we want to make sure that any kid that's eligible for free foods, if we're not in a universal free situation, is able to access the program. So we want to make sure that all the children that are eligible for free and reduced are identified either by an application or by the direct cert route. And we've put some things into place, which I'll talk about a little bit more further down in the presentation about making the application system easier for families. And lastly, I think is our most important thing that we've done as a team in the food service department is just making sure that there's no sad lunches. So kids can come up and say, I took a quesadilla, I really don't like it, and I want something else. And we will just give them another sandwich. Today, I had a couple kids come up and say, I'm still hungry. Can I have a bagel or some more fruit? Or kids were coming through the line and getting their lunch. And we usually have an alternate lunch, which is a yogurt, a cheese stick, and a bagel. And some of the kids who got the hot lunch, like, can I have a yogurt? And we're like, sure, have a yogurt. If you're going to eat it, take it. We want the kids to be happy. Customer service is number one. I have a great picture here, a couple of staff members, Maria in the front and Kimmy towards the back. And they are really proud of this meal that they made here. This is lasagna and fresh green beans that they seasoned and garlic knots. So the kids get to enjoy a nice hot meal. So some of the things that we've been working on, and I'll go into detail as the slides go down a little bit more, but the waste reduction. So talking about in lining with our net zero school and reducing waste in the food service department, which apparently sucks the most energy and produces the most waste in the entire school. So we're on the hook for that. So we have to work on that. We've done a lot of local food things, partnering with Put Local on Your Tray, creating partnerships with local farms. We are implementing a new computer system. We are working on getting more homemade recipes. We're doing more catering and trying to expand what we offer to staff. Again, customer service. And then, of course, that little task of setting up a new school and getting everybody to use a new kitchen. So I have lots of pictures of before and after, but what I keep thinking of was the first time that I went to what was actually the site. So there wasn't even entirely all the walls in the kitchen, and all the equipment was boxed up, and we were looking at floor drains to make sure that, you know, the plumbing was correct and the health department was happy and all that stuff. And last 2 weeks ago when we were there setting up, and to today, I think that picture was from actually yesterday, where we had, you know, fresh food on the line, and we have spices on the rack, and we had salsa that we made, and all these wonderful things that the kids got to enjoy. So it's been a lot, but the team has really come together and stepped up and just really worked so hard to make sure that, you know, the kids were fed efficiently and they were fed well. So I'm super proud of everybody, and we've had a great time doing it too. We have a lot of fun, and it should be, you know, I always say, like, when you're cooking, if you don't put love into it, you're not going to feed people with love. So that's an important part of what we do. The waste reduction effort kind of started from day one. So my first day here, Ginny came in my office and said, hey, can we talk about, you know, trays and silverware and yep. And I was like, yeah, I'm very into this. And so we got all the trays and forks that had been stowed away during COVID, and we pulled them back out, and all the staff were like, yeah, we can do this. We can wash trays. We can do all this stuff. But there were some things we needed. So Ginny was able to connect me with a nonprofit called Plastic Free Restaurants. And what they do is they help you to replace anything disposable, plastic disposable, with reusable. And they do that by either replacing the item for free. So if you buy plastic ramekins to put food in, they would give you metal reusable ones for free, or they can give you a subsidy. So for our bulk milk dispensers that we're using at the elementary school, we wanted to get cups. So we were able to get stainless steel cups through their subsidy program. And then you may have heard about our stainless steel trays, which is a really, I think, really cool, innovative thing that we're doing. We could have bought more plastic trays, but we know that they're not the best thing for the environment. They're not the best thing for kids. So we came upon these through that nonprofit. And they're really cool. And I love this video because it really shows you kind of the whole story behind them. And it also shows you how they're used in a school in action. So we can play this. You can do it? Okay. Actually stopped using, for the most part, any disposable cups or anything like that at the new school.
The weight is fantastic.
Introducing the stainless steel cafeteria tray. We
definitely had similar reactions with our kids. They were very
excited
here
about
at
the
our
trays.
pilot school right here in Indianapolis, Indiana at the Orchard School. We are launching a line of stainless steel children's cafeteria trays because they use these plastic trays, which is a step up from disposables. But we now know that plastic is bad for children's health and it's bad for the planet. These chemicals in plastic can interfere with the children's hormones, growth, and development. And in fact, in 2018, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended to avoid plastic and rather use glass or stainless steel to serve and store food. We've partnered with the Orchard School to do better for the kids and better for the planet.
So excited to partner with AHIMSA and bringing stainless steel trays to our lunchroom. It aligns with our school's commitment to the health and well-being of our students and our commitment to environmental stewardship. Our faculty, our staff, and of course our students have been very, very excited, and I am thrilled with the outcome.
We found out that it's much healthier to eat off of stainless steel than plastic, so I'm so happy that Orchard got rid of all of their plastic trays and moved to all stainless steel, and it's better for the environment, which is what Orchard's all about.
I'm really happy that the Orchard School could use these stainless steel trays because plastic is really bad for you.
I love that we switched from plastic to stainless steel. We can help the environment, and I love that's my favorite thing about Orchard School. And it's just so beautiful how we can help the environment, and it just makes me so happy.
Maybe at some point we can make our own tearjerker video about the kids using the trays. But from my perspective, the way the food looks on it, it's beautiful, it's shiny, they're easy to clean, and they're not heavy. So I think we've got a really cool, innovative thing with that. All right. So here's some pictures from some farm to school work we've done. This is partnering with the Yukon Extension Put Local on Your Tray program. So the first thing we did was in the fall was an apple crunch. And we involved just the third grade, and we gave them all an apple, and we all crunched at the same time, and it was a lot of fun. And we had kids who ate the entire apple, stem, seeds, all of it, super proud of themselves. It was very cute. Kids that we knew don't try very many things, tried the apple or ate the entire apple. So that was really fun. And then this winter at the middle school, we did rooting for winter. So we got a bunch of root vegetables from the cobblestone farm here in town, and we roasted radishes and turnips. And we gave the kids samples, and they got to vote to say whether they tried it or they liked it. And most of the kids really, really liked them. We had one kid who ate 35 samples. He just kept going up and getting more and more. It was really cute. And then we had leftovers, so they served them for the next day, and the kids were already familiar with them and took them and really enjoyed them. So that was nice. The most recent thing we did was their latest campaign, which is about honoring Native foods. And we got maple syrup, and we made roasted sweet potatoes with maple syrup. And then I worked with Nora Dickinson in the LCS class, and she was able to give the kids a sample of maple syrup, and then also artificial syrup, maple flavored syrup, and let the kids kind of explore the two different products and talk about how maple syrup is made and all that stuff. So that was really fun. And these are just a few of our partners. So pictures of Diane from Cobblestone Farm. Her family was here tonight, so that was kind of nice. The carrots on the top are actually her carrots. So they're yellow and red and orange and all different colors, which is really fun for the kids to see, like, carrots are not just orange and they taste different ways, and we learn about that. The syrup was local as well from Ashford. And then on the bottom is folks from Horse Listeners. And we've actually been getting Horse Listener apples all year. So they store them, and I still have some. So we're still using them, which is really cool. We've been doing a lot of catering. And that's really fun for me and the staff because I've been able to take some of my ideas and utilize their talents to be able to make some really great stuff. And they're very excited about it. They love to do different things. They love to feed the kids, but when they get to do a special project, they really love that too. So we did a bus driver breakfast where we did like bacon and eggs and a whole buffet. And that was really nice. We've been doing different sandwiches and things for the teachers. We did the photo on my right is the neighborhood breakfast that we did at MES. And we made frittatas and scones and bagels and fruit salad. And it was really lovely. And we did a local academy, government academy dinner, and we did a whole local meal. So it was local butternut squash and salad and a whole array of local cheeses and breads and stuff, which was really nice. So we're working on that. We're working on menus for that and hoping to expand that more because it's a great way to give the staff something interesting and special projects to do, but also making money for the program, which is nice. This is just a little information about our new food service software, which is going to change a lot of things for us because it's going to help organize all of our menus and recipes and inventory. It gives us a more efficient cash register so that we can ring kids up faster. And in the case, like at the middle school and the high school, where we do a la carte items, it'll give us more flexibility with that. It also has a whole online component where parents can go on and see the menus and click on different menu items and be able to see like what allergens are in there. So that's helpful for kids with allergies or special diets and things like that. And also they can get the nutrition information. So we have, kids that have diabetes and they can be able to see like what's in the meal so they can figure out. And it also has online free and reduced applications. So the parents can go online, fill out the information. It tells them automatically that they qualified so they don't have to wait. And they can print out their letter or get it emailed to them. And there's also a payment application, which is something that they can download and pay easily. Right now we have a system through the town, which is a little cumbersome for families and for us. So this will make it a little more efficient for us. Focus on homemade recipes or scratch recipes. So this was something that when I came on board, the staff was very excited about. So I've been kind of sneaking them in a little more and more throughout the year. And I think last month was when we did a lot of stuff. So in this picture, you'll see a chicken burrito. So it's rice and chicken and vegetables. And then they made a corn salad to go with it. So it was really a very homemade meal, which was really fun. And we're able to use a lot of the government commodities to make these things. So that's kind of our free food, right? So we can utilize those to make really delicious meals that are also, healthy for the kids. And we've been doing this through, ideas that I've come up with, but also talking to students, talking to the PTO, to families, and seeing really what the staff is interested in making. So it's been a group effort. I wanted to talk a little more about our no sad lunches kind of policy that we have and how the staff has embraced it. We always say our number one priority, right, is to feed the kids, to make sure the kids have a meal. So whatever that is, that's what we have to do no matter what else happens. We've been working on a vision and a mission within our team. So we've had a couple meetings where we sit down and kind of throw out ideas and talk about what they see as kind of our priorities and where we're moving. So that's been fun to involve everybody. We've changed our parent communications to be, we think, a little more customer service focused and to have a different language in them. So parents and families feel like they can reach out to us and have their voice heard. I've had families reach out and say, what can we do for vegetarians? So we've altered the menu a little bit to include more of those things and identify them. We've decided not to serve pork because we have so many kids that don't eat it, and it just is less complicated not to have it at all on the menu. So if we use something like pepperoni, it's all beef, and sausages, we buy chicken and things like that. Our menu design and cafeteria decor, we're trying to move away from holiday themes and do more seasonal. So you can see in this picture, they have sort of a spring theme with butterflies and things like that. The charging policy we talked about, and then we just really try to meet kids where they are. And my philosophy is that, you know, as adults and as people who are feeding children, that we should really be the ones who are providing nutritious, healthy food and a place for these kids to eat and a time for them to eat. And the kids should really be in charge of what they're going to eat, and how much of what we give them they're going to eat. And not to be pressuring them or bribing them or trying to really cater to what we think as adults and our food behaviors. So we've done a lot with, like I said, kids come in and they're asking for something else, or we have kids who have different abilities about what they like to eat or texture issues or things like that. So we really try to make sure we have things available so that kids feel comfortable. And the meal part of the day is a happy time and a time when they can feel nourished and they can feel relaxed. And it's not another thing that stresses them out. That's really one of the goals. And our plan for the future is really, as you saw from the pictures, culinary focus. We want to have food that we're all proud of, that tastes really yummy, that people talk about. We want to maximize our participation, become involved with the community, hopefully do some more dinners and things like that we used to do in the past. And really try to reach out and find out, you know, we have a great cultural diversity in our town, and, you know, add some things that are new to some people and familiar to other people to really sort of expand our horizons and talk about food in different ways. And we have some great opportunities with catering, so we're hoping to do that. And in this picture, you can really see our beautiful shiny trays and our happy kids. This is from, I think, Tuesday. So the kids were all eating their food off their shiny trays. And just a couple, the kids here were the first kids to go through the line at the new school. So they were very excited about that. And then I have a picture of folks at the middle school shucking a lot of corn that they were very gracious about when I had delivered to them. So the kids got fresh corn on the cob at one point. And then just some veggies that we did. And we can take some time for questions and answers. And then just, this is my little guy. And I want everybody to know that I do this because I love food. I love feeding people, but this little guy will be in our schools in a year and a half. And so, you know, I do it for my family too, so.
Any questions?
I just
Martha?
want to say that everything looks delicious.
Thank you, Catherine. Martha?
No, I think it's wonderful that if students want a yogurt or a bagel extra, they're still hungry, that you know that's available for them and they're not embarrassed to ask for it. And also on the other hand, if they say, geez, I didn't like this meal today, is there another choice? That there are other choices. And not every day are we interested in, you know, a tuna sandwich or whatever. But so yeah, I think having them have a good relationship with food is and making good food choices is a good idea. So thank you for alerting staff that that's our policy.
Thank you.
So, Chef, thank you so much.
Catherine?
Sorry.
Catherine, and then Edith.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm very excited about the changes Mansfield has made from the way we used to eat to the way we used to feed our kids to the way we are currently feeding our kids. And I remember when Martha first brought it up years and years and years ago. So it's really nice to see that it finally comes to fruition. I also wanted to mention that you forgot the veterans breakfast that the staff at the middle school prepared in November. Last year, it was phenomenal. It was probably one of the best meals I've ever eaten. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that too. Thank you for taking care of our veterans.
Thank you, Catherine.
Welcome.
Edith?
Oh, I just wanted to compliment your presentation. It was very thorough. Not a lot of need for questions because you covered everything, but love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for feeding and nurturing our whole community.
You're welcome.
After an evening of so many wonderful things that we've heard and folks that are doing a fantastic job, we probably can't say enough thank yous to you for the thoughtful work. And when I see the phrase customer service, I'm thinking we love the kids. That's what it really means. So thank you for that.
We've come a
You're
long
welcome.
way since Army green peas.
Yes, yes, yep. And it's my pleasure. It really is. And I forgot to mention that I did bring a little homemade recipe that we're gonna roll out with the kids as an apple and pear salsa. So there is local apples, and then it has jalapenos, and it's very mild, cucumbers and things like that. So it's on the table, and you're welcome to try some, take some. There's some chips there. And I apologize that the room smells like garlic now permanently, but that's what we do. So
Well, this is dangerous now. We're going to have the expectation every meeting. So thank you for
no
that.
problem. You're welcome. Thank you.
So just in conclusion, I get a lot of emails and most of those emails are pretty challenging. I never expect to get emails complimenting food service from staff members who just gushed about the quality and service. But I also got a story early on in Mariah's tenure. We had a student who was just having a bad day and wanted chicken nuggets, and chicken nuggets weren't on the menu. And everyone's like, nope, sorry, this is a life lesson. And Mariah's like, we have some chicken nuggets. We can do that for you. And everyone's jaw just dropped. I'm like, you're getting a kid what they want? Like, we were just shocked. And this dysregulated, sad kid suddenly just beamed, and I think is one of your biggest fans. But Mariah can feed the soul, can feed the heart, feed the stomach, and teach us a different way that schools should not be based on prisons and factories, which is what we often fight against. And our new building is an example of how we're trying to shift that paradigm. And your vision in food service is doing exactly that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. You've got to read
But
this.
by the way, how's all the new equipment?
What's that?
How's the new equipment in the new kitchen?
Oh, it's amazing.
You're happy with all of the elements?
It's amazing. And it is like when you get a new car, so you know how to drive, but you don't know where the blinkers are or how to turn the radio on. And that's what's happening there. The combi oven, which is steam and convection combined, is an amazing piece of equipment. Like, the other food service directors are jealous. It works so well. We're able to cook pans of chicken nuggets in like 7 minutes versus 15 before, and things like that. And everything came out beautifully today, like crispy on the outside, moist inside. So everything in there is beautiful and wonderful. And everybody is so excited that they have 2 walk-ins instead of having to jam everything in reach-in refrigerators and things like that. So it's been really great so far. Thank you for all that.
Jeanette, are you going to tell us you're hungry now?
I'm actually starving, but beside that, I teach in a school system that uses a contracted catering company. And there's a tremendous amount of food waste because frankly, the food is not appetizing nor is it very good once you eat it. And so really, this model not only provides better nutrition for our kids, helps them try new things, sets them up for a lifelong pattern of healthy eating, it's actually very cost effective. And so I'm very happy, and I will be having some salsa later.
Excellent. Excellent.
I can't have it until I read the motion. I'm going to read the motion if that's okay with folks.
Do you want to talk about that or? Yeah, hang on one sec. Yeah. Please.
Yes, sure.
Oh, sorry.
we have to go through, the board remembers that there is a very lengthy legal document that we have to certify each and every year on an annual basis. And so Susanna is teed up to read the motion for the board to support this. And this is part of the requirement of state and federal funding.
Thank you. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Pursuant to CGS Section 1021-215F, the Mansfield Board of Education certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups. We're going to
Thank
vote
you.
on this, right? Okay.
Yes. Do I have a second? Edith, thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Any other discussion? Any questions about this? All right, all in favor? Say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Dave, are you with us?
He's waving his hand.
Great, thank you very much. That passes unanimously. And now we have a second.
Right, here we go. The Mansfield Board of Education will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards, provided that the following conditions are met. Number one, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. Number two, the sale is at the location of the event. And number three, the food items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An quote unquote event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice meeting or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight 4 to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Quote unquote location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food sales. The
Thank
end.
you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Edith. Any discussion, Martha?
Was summer school mentioned in there? Because we provide food at summer school. Does that fall under this? It's after that
So it is after that. And so it
Okay, we
would be
need-
subject to the following.
year.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So,
But then it would be subject, but it wouldn't fall into the after hours part of it. So our food service, if we serve anything, it would be consistent with the regulations for our regular breakfast and lunch
it
service.
doesn't say how many days a year either.
Correct.
So that would exclude summer school. So I don't know. Do we need to maybe allow for that, or are we okay?
I believe we're okay because we simply just follow the regulations and we're consistent with it. It's not like we're going to serve chocolate bars with whole milk.
Right, this is related to any food that's sold separately from a reimbursable meal. So what you're
Okay.
talking about is a child getting a lunch at summer school.
Yes.
And that would be a reimbursable, meal that meets the government regulations. It has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
This separately would be
All
like
right.
a la carte
Yeah,
items.
there are all these addendum.
Yeah,
type
oh yeah,
things. Okay,
yeah, it's
thank
very
you.
complicated, yes.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Dave. That's unanimous. All right, thank you very much, Mariah.
You're welcome, thank you.
Wonderful job. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Where are we at now? MMS building updates? It's not going to be any left for you.
So We're going to continue on and talk about the middle school roof project update. I think this might be my last one because everything is nearly done. It really is just a matter of getting a contractor to connect and energize. I think the exciting update here that I wasn't aware of early on is that the middle school will also have an energy dashboard similar to the elementary school. So we'll be able to publicly display the energy that we're generating and saving. So that will be kind of a universal entrance into any of our school buildings. So I'm excited about that. I want to shout out to Dave, who's been on this school building committee. We don't often talk about the service on that team, but he has served dutifully for multiple years and appreciate the support with that. The new elementary school. So I do want to just update you that we're less than 1% on the punch list. We're really down to spring, summer work. We opened up with wood chips in the playscape that over the summer when we're not in session for summer school. We're going to take the wood chips out and put in the rubberized surface, which was part of the design. We opted to do wood chips so we could have kids play while we were opening up. There's some issues with the gym threshold going outside that will be taken care of either during the Memorial Day break or right after we break for summer recess. Landscaping, there's a gym mat that we're ordering and a hoist system that will help us store them. And just final procurement items. They're like light switches and various hardware items that simply were not available. So we put in a replacement until we could get the right one. So it's minor things, but it's also another reminder of why it was important for us to get into the building, because we're also finding warranty issues. So a little issue with the washer dryer, issue with Mariah's washing machine. And so all those things are under warranty. We wouldn't know about those unless we were using them. So great that we're there because all those warranties started ticking when we signed the certificate of occupancy. So I'm super glad about that. I also then wanted to update the board about water. There's been a lot of conversations about it. So you know that we're mandated by the state in all our buildings because we're not on municipal water systems to monitor them, to test them. We've increased that. We've opted on our side to increase the testing to make sure that we best know our water. And so we know that raw water from the wells meets all standards. No issues whatsoever with VOCs, with heavy metals, all is fine. Once water enters the building, we're seeing that lead is not an issue. It is well below the actionable level, nearly zero and non-detect in some cases. It is copper that we're looking at right now because of the new copper piping. We see a slight elevation, and I'm going to show you some data that will really illustrate how the pipes really affect our water, and that we believe over time it will correct itself. But we are measuring water quality nearly every 2 weeks because we want as much data as we can before the state then puts us on a plan of an annual testing for copper and lead. So we're well ahead of any of the state required testing. But the state has been in constant contact with us. We've asked them to help us develop the mitigating plan. Their advice to us, to believe it or not, is to continue to be patient, because if you don't have to treat water, you don't want to treat it. And so if this corrects itself over time, that might be enough. But they are putting together a plan should we need to adjust the pH of the water or whatever. But in the meantime, out of an abundance of caution, we're providing bottled water. We know that our filling stations have a filter on it and have dropped copper levels well below action levels. So that's safe. The water is safe to wash with. And Mariah's team knows to use bottled water or filtered water when they are cooking. And then I just wanted to show you some water test data. Just as an example, this was our latest taken on April 11th. And so we're zeroed in on the copper lead piece. Those are two critical items that we monitor in school water quality. You'll see the lead is less than 0.001. So that's well below action level. No worries there. AL is the action level in the categories. Copper exceeds the action level. And so this is a first draw. If you look at the client ID, you'll see MESK, which is kitchen, fourth sink. And this is when you turn the spigot on, water coming out. 30-second flush. You'll see that those numbers now are decreasing. Look at the copper number. It was 1.33. Then after a 30-second flush, it's dropped below the action level. So that means it would be safe to drink. And then after a 5-minute flush, it is well below action levels. And so we know from those test results that we're looking at a typical situation where copper is being leached out into the water because of the new plumbing, but over time and use, that will decrease over time. But we're not taking that. We'll continue to test, we'll monitor, and we'll work with DPH at the local and state level to do whatever we need to do to make sure that the water is safe to consume.
Peter, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Or I should say, Kathy, can I ask Peter a question?
Certainly, Gavin.
The filling stations, are those water faucets, the drinking fountains that are stationed around the school? Is that what you're calling the filling station?
Yes.
So those are safe to use,
Yes.
but it's not safe to drink out of the, I'm confused. Why?
It would be not safe to drink like the water from the bathroom sink or from the kitchen sink.
But we're still providing bottled water.
Providing that just out of an abundance of caution, just
Okay.
giving people that option that if they, because we have found over time that people just like bottled water. And so we've had them throughout our buildings and facilities for years. So it was quite easy just to shift them over and have them available. But we also know that the filling stations are safe to consume.
Okay, thank you very much.
Martha?
Yeah, the question about the copper. Have heard that for weeks, they have been doing, in the morning and in the afternoon, they have been flushing the system for, I don't know, I'm gonna say 45 minutes or an hour in the morning and the same in the afternoon. They've been doing it for weeks and weeks. So how can we still have a copper level that is a action level?
Right. So I don't know if Bill or Alan is still on the call. Are they? I don't know if they can. My understanding is that, oh, you are. Do you want to answer that question? Were you able to hear it?
I did, and sure. The continual flushing, we were hoping that we had enough time before school opened that I guess it's been explained to us that basically you're painting the inside of the pipe, and we were hoping the water would do that naturally. Unfortunately, we've seen that the levels actually had started a little bit lower, went up some, and we're hoping that we go over the curve and it comes down again. But we believe that we're going to still need the system to handle that part of it and coat those pipes. So that's what we were attempting to do naturally, but now we will probably have to do a system that will treat that.
The second question, how does this town, are they have to pay for this as an extra item on the to-do list, or they have a few other things too, or is this included in the contractor's fee?
Alan, I'm not sure. I know we have an open contract and a relationship with the laboratory that tests. So I'm not sure if we're charging the school building committee for this.
We are charging this the school building for this, yeah.
And I guess it would be the same for other items you were mentioning earlier, that
Correct.
this is being paid for out of the contract from the contractor, or their subcontractors are taking care of this as part of their contract?
Or it is billable and paid through the state grant. That's funding and underwriting the whole construction of the new school.
So we're paying for it.
We're
town.
paying for it, right, under
town
the
is
new
paying for
construction.
it.
Grant. Because it's not a vendor necessarily, unless, I don't know, Alan, if you can weigh in on that. I don't know if we can claim that a vendor is responsible for this, or if this is just liability in well water.
That is correct. It's more liability in the well water. It is a common practice to use copper on a system, and that was the practice that they used was putting copper into this building.
And I know copper is desirable, but I was just, I had known that for weeks and weeks they've been flushing it, and I didn't know how long that process took. Apparently it takes quite a while
It does.
to coat the inside of the
Right.
pipes.
Well,
as I
there's a lot
assume
of
what they're-
sinks.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, a lot of sinks and a lot of plumbing.
Yeah.
And so to do that is a pretty big undertaking. And as Alan said, it was a strategy at one point, but because now we have students in the building, we have to be mindful of conserving the water to make sure that we have enough water to operate the toilets and sinks and so forth. And we just hope over time, and then with the state's mitigating plan, whatever that ends up being, that treatment will then reduce the copper.
Yeah, but the filters and the filtering systems, those are things that get the, not that the contractor picks up, but are things that the school building committee comes out of their.
Well, the filters were purchased to open up the building, but they're consumable, and so it'll be on us to then order and resupply. So the first round is on the new school, and then every point after that, when we have to change out the filters, that's on the owner to replace that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
And the final item. You want me to take the lead?
Sure.
Okay, so your last item on the agenda is just noting retirements and resignations. And so one, this doesn't replace our tradition of recognizing and celebrating retirements in June, but just to give you a heads up and a heavy heart. These are two amazing educators, Nora Dickinson and Elise Polier, social studies, math, and obviously our life consumer science. Just amazing careers, both of them, and have been just so effective in their own right. You'll be hearing more from Nora, and classic to her teaching and work with kids. She's proposed an interesting way to celebrate retirement. So stay tuned in June. You'll see that. And then just bittersweet, Kelly Villar, an MES teacher. She is resigning, but sweet for her because she's heading off to EastCon to a great position there. We're really pleased and happy. She's excited about it. But we were also very appreciative of her service and time here in Mansfield.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
That brings us to new business. I don't believe we have any. Second opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to approach the board? Seeing none. Any suggestion for future agenda items? Martha?
More salsa.
I'm with that. That's. All right, and then I will take a motion to adjourn. You, Edith, second? Thank you, Jeanette. All in favor? Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Dave. Thank you all for your patience and input tonight. Long night, but really appreciate it.
Celebratory.
So they did comment.
Sounds
at the
good.
meeting? They don't do it before?
Twice.
Oh, they do it twice?
The town council thing that we're going to? Yeah, it's about the new school building, yeah. Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to try the salsa. I guess it's gone. Good night, all.